One of the events that are very close to my heart is, like millions of people, one evening I'm sitting watching the television and see something that really shook me, which was the earthquake disaster in Kashmir, where literally in a split second 3 million people lose their homes and lose their livelihood. And while watching some of the most horrific pictures I've ever seen, I just felt compelled to go and see that for myself. So literally the following morning, as crazy as it may seem, I get on an aeroplane and fly to Islamabad and get a private plane to take me to the earthquake area in Kashmir, and literally could not believe with my own eyes what I saw and what I experienced. The devastation, the effect that such an event could happen, and I suppose the sad thing that I find is, why do all these disasters always happen to the poor, the people who really are the most helpless? And I find myself walking through the villages, and I've never seen so much death in my life. Literally seeing 4-story buildings down to, knee high. I mean, just sunk to the ground. Talking to a lot of the people and the aid agencies and some of the army who were involved with the whole devastation of what took place, and looking at some of the kind of mountainous regions of Kashmir, noticed that everybody was focusing on the flatland areas where most of the devastation took place, but everybody was ignoring what was happening around some of the mountain areas where there were hundreds and hundreds of families living. And remembering speaking to one of the army generals and saying, who's going to deal with that? And he just looked at me with a blank face and said, actually nobody, because it was just too difficult to get to. And I couldn't believe that I saw all these people, and I could just see from the distance these houses being crushed and literally disappear. The following morning, took a helicopter ride and visited some of those properties and saw how people were just clinging on to dear life, because to them, their little piece of land is everything. And they weren't prepared to come down from the mountains thinking in fear that they'd even lose the piece of land that they've got. And the person that I went with, who represented the government, I said, what's going to happen here? He said, nothing. I said, but I can't believe it. We're in October, it's freezing cold, they've got no protection, they've got no homes, there's no heating. These people will die. And he said, for change, we have millions of people on the ground that we need to be looking after. We just can't get to this. And I've never witnessed a situation where somebody so casually remarks on death so easily. So when I ask the question, what will happen to these people? The unspoken word is, let them die. Of course, I couldn't live with that. I couldn't allow myself to go back knowing that there are hundreds of people in these valleys, in these mountains, who are just as important as everybody else, that we're just going to ignore.